Good morning. I look sexy. I was going to say oily, greasy, but no. I looked at myself and I remembered that I look sexy. Okay, so I read chapter 16. The kids got arrested. Everybody lost their kids. Everybody that she gave kids to lost them. And because Natalie ended up there when she came and got her baby back. So of course Tilly found out and had the Sheriff Pine go arrest all the kids. Because, that makes sense. So we're on chapter 17. I might be able to hit y'all with the 2 chapters because it seems like chapter 17 is kind of short. So, but then at the same time, I might... No, Squeeze. You're just going to hit them with the little 2 chapters. Say that little last chapter for that. Y'all like, Squeeze, really? You really going to make us come back? I'm going to really make y'all come back. I'm sorry. I apologize. Chapter 17, Canaan Creek, 1985. Somehow Tally knew that they were watching him. So he leaned close to the pretty young lady, the young woman in her postal uniform, and the 2 laughed up a storm. He handed her Bonnie's meal, and the girl nearly dropped it. Tally quickly put his large hands under hers to assure that it wouldn't hit the ground. "I'll be," Bonnie said, looking from the window. "What?" Thora called from the kitchen. She sat on the table, clipping coupons from the morning paper. "Tally," she said, "he got some mail woman out here." Thora hurried up through the house and stood behind Bonnie at the window. It had been more than a week since that day, ever since Tally had left the mail outside in a box, rather bringing it in directly into the house. This morning, though, his smile was as bright as summer sky, his walk spry and confident. The young woman beside him, her hair in dozens of tiny braids, followed on Tally's heels. Her regulation white knee socks made her look even younger than she possibly was. "Women ain't supposed to be carrying no big old bag like that," Thora said, eyeing the girl. "Mailman is what they call. Them bags tilt your womb, give you arthritis. Sure enough." "Pretty little thing," Bonnie said. "She alright," Thora said, "if you go for that type." "Morning, ladies," Tally hollered through the front screen door. Thora hurried back to the kitchen. She flipped through the newspaper when he came in, followed by Bonnie and his new apprentice. "Morning, Thora," Tally said. "Tally," she returned without looking up. "Now, who is this pretty young lady?" Bonnie asked, trying to cut the tension. "Isa, ma'am. She my new student, Tally beamed. "I'm teaching her my route." Thora peered up from the paper. "Why you teaching folks your route?" asked Bonnie. "You going somewhere?" "Not in the next year or so," he replied. "But Mackie, he the big man at the main post office in Charleston. He want to start training more folks for the 3 sisters, so he sends them to me." "I've been sent to the best. I ain't put in." Thora rolled her eyes. "Thora, just to make you a little jealous over there. Yo, she talking to your man, all up on your man, got him smiling too hard. Yeah, you a little jealous." Don't think I ever seen a lady mailman before," Bonnie said. "That's because there ain't supposed to be none," Thora mumbled. The girl looked at Thora curiously. She finally closed the morning paper. "So why a pretty girl like you want to be a man do a man's work?" Thora asked. Isn't a man's work anymore, ma'am," she replied. "Needs to get with Tam, Thora," Tally defended. Got a woman that worked for the Cannon Creek Tool and Die. I declare, she drive a big old cement all the way across the state, and she even smaller than Irene here." "You from these parts?" Bonnie asked. "I'm from Pennsylvania," she answered, "but my husband was born here in South Carolina." "Yeah, calm down, Bonnie. It's okay. She don't want your man." Bonnie could see Thora's body relax at the word husband. "I suspect Cannon Creek must be a lot different from Pennsylvania," Bonnie said. "Oh, yeah," she smiled. "Ain't she pretty, Bonnie?" Tally said. "She certainly is that. And smart too," Tally went on. Thora sucked her teeth at the old man fawning. But Bonnie could clearly see that Tally's compliments were meant more for Thora's sake. "Irene here is a college girl," Tally boosted. "Went to a big school in Pennsylvania. What's that you call it? Irene, Penn State, she answered. There you go, he said. So why a smart college girl delivering the mail, Thor persisted. Check yourself, Thor Dean, Tally put in. It's okay, Tally, Irene replied. She seemed poised and polished and well able to handle herself. After I left school, she explained, my husband wants to come back south, find his roots. A lot of folks doing it these days, Tally said. We lived in New York City for the last 4 years, and New York City, Bonnie gasped. Glory be, I can't imagine what that would be like. Bonnie said, both hands flat across her chest. That big old place, she said, scared the fool out of me just thinking about it. People are people, Irene replied. Just some talk a little faster than others. Thor was examining Irene cautiously. Go on, Irene, and get a ladies' day mail, Tally said. That's what a male woman's supposed to do. Irene quickly separated the letters into 2 piles and had one to Thor and one to Bounty. You did that very well, Thor says sarcastically. Tally's eyes lingered on Thor's. When she didn't return his glance, he said, let's get going, Irene. Still got to get some masks on. No breakfast this morning, Tilly? Bonnie asked, following him out on the porch. Thor stood just outside the screen door. I'm cutting down, he said, patting his stomach. Got to keep fit. Irene picked up her mail sack from the bottom step. Beth, be careful with that bag, young woman, Thor said. See you next time, Bonnie, Tally said. Irene settled in the truck. Tally was just about to step in. Tally Benford, Thor called. She stood on the top step with her arms folded. They got that Back to the Future movie playing in town, she said. You seen it? His eyes narrowed. No. I'm going to ask you again, she said. You seen it? Absolutely no. Bonnie and Irene looked puzzled by the conversation. I ain't seen it either, she said. An awkward pause followed. Then she sighed deeply. Okay, she said. I'll go with you on Friday. Tally scratched his head. Bonnie could see him thinking. I'll let you know tomorrow, he said. You'll let me know right now, she snapped. Well, he said, rubbing the back of his neck. You gonna behave yourself, Thordine? Well, shit. Yes, I will. Y'all like what? Y'all know what she did last time. Don't act like y'all forget that she acted a damn ass. Bonnie could see her own friend struggling, but the fact once again, Thordine had faced her ghost. She stood here in the cloudless morning with her tail between her legs. Yes, she replied. Tilly fiddled with his mailbag unnecessarily. Friday, you say? Pick me up at 7. How about 6? How about 7? 7, he said. Fine, she said. Then she went in the house. Tally gave Bonnie a quick wink. A bright young woman, he said to Bonnie in a loud whisper. It's the oldest trick in the book. He said, look, you don't like me. Oh, you don't like me, Thor, then, huh? Okay. Well, if I bring another chick around and I start complimenting her, how you gonna feel? Okay. Tyler Thor thing said, no. I don't like that shit. I don't like it. I'm not here for it. Did you see this movie? I said, did you see this movie? He said, no. Okay, then we're going together. Because I'm not liking what the fuck you doing right now. See, now I gotta put it down. Chapter 18, Cannon Creek, 1958. Bits and pieces about the sisterhood were revealed the very next day in tiny blurbs in the Cannon Chronicle. The heading read, local woman arrested for illegal adoptions. By the time Bonnie was released, everyone in town knew about her one night in the Cannon County Jail. She sat quietly in the backseat of Horse's and Thor's car while Horse drove. Horse hadn't uttered a single word since his wife had paid $230 of his money to get Bonnie out. But as usual, Thor more than made up for the lack of conversation. People have been calling my house all morning, she prattled. Miss Reverend, Duncan, Gina Dixon, Kenny Woodson, even one of those damn Bell sisters, Thor said, glaring at her husband. Can't believe that a Bell had the nerve to call my house. Even if it was to ask about you, Bonnie. Horse never took his ass off the road, and you can't imagine how many people are calling you a real live hero. The word hero sounded strange to Bonnie. In fact, she felt like she was walking around in someone else's life, like some character from a movie. Pam was acting, maybe Brooke Peters, when he led her into the stony room with 2 cells, a desk, a few folding chairs, and what looked like a ticket window. Bonnie realized that this was the same office that she had come into with Naz for his hunting license. She recalled that the room had been warm and flooded with sunlight. But last night, the place was dim and cool. The male guard on duty, a white named Mr. Jameson, was nearly 70 years old and wore a dark blue uniform. He had fingerprinted Bonnie by pressing her thumb onto a black ink pad and then bloated it into a small box reserved for the prints of cold criminals. Bonnie felt numb the whole time, even when Mr. Jameson had taken her picture. But oddly, while this humiliation took place, she could smell fish frying somewhere in the back of the jailhouse. This aroma, snapped out of her distant place and made the room feel human and real. The warm and honey smell of toasted cornmeal was like when Naz would return home from a fishing trip and she would fry up his catch. Mr. Jameson then placed her in a cell with two other women. The younger woman, Dolly King, had been arrested for holding a shotgun on her neighbor, and the other, about Bonnie's age, Precious Wilson, had stabbed her husband's mistress. Interestingly, Bonnie could relate to them both. Mr. Jameson turned on a small TV set and angled it so the woman could watch the Ann Southern show. Then the old man fed them hot fried grouper on white bread with stewed okra. Bonnie could honestly say that her night in prison wasn't all so bad until the lights went out. She lay on the small cot, looked up at a piece of the bright moon through a high window. She thought about Nadine and cried at the idea that the girl just wanted to be a mama. She considered Ruby Pearl and couldn't imagine the pain that the woman must be feeling, having lost yet another child. And what a Wyan. He had been separated from the only mama he ever really knew. Because of Bonnie, the child was surely frightened, surrounded by strangers. Then there was Noah. Bonnie had buried her hand in the white sheets when she thought about her boy. She couldn't rid her mind of an image of him sitting on the steps of the county home waiting for her to come. But with all the people she had heard still pleasuring her, the thought that saddened Bonnie the most was how she longed for her husband. Bonnie, Thor said, turning to look in the back seat of the car. I know that you're putting all this on yourself, right? Thor knew it well. Just you remember, though, Thor said, wagging her finger, that if anybody is to blame over Nadine's death, it's her own mama. Tally made that girl run out and find her baby, so you start blaming yourself. Bonnie looked out the window at acres of brown and barren farmland. I got something to say, Horse put in. Y'all might not want to hear this, but I feel the same way Naz do. Like y'all ain't had no right to be fooling with them children. Now, I ain't blaming Bonnie for that girl's death or nothing, but a bunch of church ladies shouldn't have no say about who gets a baby and why. Thor suddenly slapped Horse in the back of his head. Bonnie jumped from the loud clap against his bare skin. Horse raised his hand to return the blow, but quickly pulled back. Don't you talk to Bonnie that way, Thor spat. She felt bad enough as it is without your big ass mouth. Thor, Bonnie whispered. One of these days, I'm gonna lose myself, woman, Horse. Horse shouted, and I'm gonna slap you right back. Then you gonna be hurting sure enough. Hurting back! Everything was spinning out of control. Bonnie couldn't get a grasp on her life. When Horse drove through the gate on BlackBerry corner, he and Thor were still quarreling. I ain't gonna talk to you about this no more, Thor said, gathering her horse. Bonnie needs me now, and I'm gonna spend the night. Spend the night, Horse said. Woman, you got it home. I'm just fine, Bonnie cut in. You go on with your husband. I ain't studying no horse dean, Thor said, sliding out of the car. I need some time to think, Bonnie insisted. Some time alone. You ain't just saying that. No, honey. Come on, get back in the car, Horse called. Thor gave Bonnie a hug. I'm gonna be checking on you tomorrow. I know you will. Crazy people gonna be calling you, Thor warned. So don't you even answer the phone. I won't. In fact, I'm gonna call Ruth on the party line, Thor said, sliding back into the car. I'm gonna tell her not to put no calls over the BlackBerry corner. Except for me, that is. Thank you, honey. Before they left, Thor called out, stop all them contrary thoughts, Bonnie. Just remember, it wasn't your fault, girl. The house was definitely sat quiet. And though smack in the middle of August, it seemed more drafty than ever. Bonnie thought she had cried all she could when Naz had left. And now, 3 months after the fact, the tears flowed just as heavily. She walked out back and looked toward the woods. If Naz came home right now, not only would Bonnie accept his apology, but she would beg Tissa forgiveness for not accepting it sooner. She heard the phone ring, but decided to take Thor's advice and let it be. She needed to walk out the pain. Bonnie placed below the back porch, her arms folded across her chest, then started through the overgrown grass. The wind whipping through her hair felt good. She stood at the edge of the woods. The blackberries were in full bloom. She suddenly wondered if the berries would even return next season. Since Nance wasn't around to prove them, she feared that the blackberries were gone for good. Bonnie, a voice called from the house. Ruby Pearl was standing by the back porch. Here was a confirmation that she hoped not to have soon. Bonnie knew she couldn't avoid it. She also knew that she deserved any and all of Ruby Pearl's anger and disappointment. Bonnie made haste across the backyard. Ruby Pearl was wearing her Sunday dress, a peach-colored dress banded with a patent leather belt. Her gray hat was brightened with tiny white flowers. You okay, sweetie? Ruby Pearl asked. Am I okay? Dora Dean told me that she was bringing you home today. Ruby Pearl sat on the top step. Bonnie sat beside her. For a moment, all that could be heard was the distant sound of wind in the woods. Bonnie fingered the pleats in her dress. Ruby Pearl, she started. I didn't want you to have to feel this kind of pain again. I ain't made of glass. Bonnie was stunned. I thought she would be angry. Bad things happen, she said. Sometimes more than once. I decided to take my own advice, Ruby Pearl went on. I refused to sit there with the eye and some potatoes. I didn't listen to my mama the first time, but I sure as shooting am gonna listen this time. And I'm going somehow, some way, get my baby back. That's wonderful, Ruby Pearl. Yes, but the question is, what you gonna do? Bonnie folded her hands in her lap. They charged me with illegal adoption. And did you just hear what I said? Pine had to get you for something. We all knew that. They didn't like all that baby business, and they had to get you with something. The sheriff's just mad because they can't find none of them babies, except Wyatt and Noah. Ruby Pearl shook her head. Ain't it funny that the two people caught up in this thing was the two kids that we took and not me? No, honey. That there is her mama. Not you and not me. Tilly is running around screaming and blaming everybody on the sun. But she in a lot of pain right now. She angry, Bonnie. But I think that even she know, deep down inside, that it was her own doing that harms her child. What about Wayne? Bonnie asked. Have you seen him? Twice since they took him. I went by the country home both yesterday and today. For a fact, I just come from my visit. Bonnie shut her eyes. Eddie Gray say that because I'm a single lady, it's going to be hard to adopt him. But I'm going to keep going until they kick my butt out or till they let me take my baby home. Oh! And you will. She also said that I might be able to leave Wayne as a foster child. I might be able to have Wayne as a foster child. Ruby Pearl sighed anxiously. I'll take whatever I can get with him. And maybe after a while, I'll find me a husband. Bonnie reached out and took Ruby Pearl's hand. You sound like you got a plan, dear. If I talk strong, I feel strong. Ruby Pearl unhooked her belt. She let out a breath like she had been holding it the whole entire time. I don't know Dora Dean do it. I don't know how Dora Dean do it. Don't know how she wear that kind of dress every day. And the shoes, ooh-wee, she said, massaging the back of her leg. Ruby Pearl didn't look up when she said, I seen Noah at the county home. Bonnie knew that this conversation would come to this. Somehow she didn't want to hear it. She felt guilty having given up. How was he? They say he don't talk much, but he asked me when you were coming. If you can't get Wayne, then you know I can't get Noah. Not only am I a single lady, but a single lady that been in jail. Oh, please, Ruby Pearl said. Ain't like you public enemy number one. Probably best if I stay out of the child's life altogether. Don't do it, Bonnie. Don't sit in that stool. Because if you sit a week, you sit a month. A month turned into a year. Go see the boy, Ruby Pearl said. If you ain't got to fight for him, then you need to tell him goodbye. At least his daddy had the decency to do that. I'll see him. Why don't I believe you? Bonnie walked to the front door. How about we go to the diner? Ruby Pearl asked. Probably got smothered chicken tonight. Come on, honey. Just you and me? Tomorrow, then. We'll go to the movies, too. Maybe, Bonnie said. Though she knew she wanted. Bonnie didn't want to talk with anyone to see a soul. She didn't want to be jolted back to sense or told how she should be feeling. Bonnie wanted everyone to stay away. She wanted to be left alone to sit with the onions and the potatoes. She wanted to just stew in her stew, okay? She fell in the sauce and she wanted to rest in that shit, okay? She wanted to get thick. See, right now the sauce is thin. She wanted to get thick. She wanted to just cry in it, add a little thickness to it, make it thick. She don't want to. After rapping on the lock screen for over 10 minutes, Miss Eileen had set a pot of stewed oxtail on the porch and left. Olivia tucked the foil-wrapped lemon cake inside Bonnie's old newspaper and moved on. And before driving off, Delphine had yelled something about how much they loved Bonnie. A week since her arrest, Bonnie had kept herself apart from everyone, including the sisterhood. The curtains remained drawn and the blinds shut. She had even locked her doors to Thor and Ruby Pearl. Bonnie wouldn't even consider going into town to shop, for fear of running into folks. Some were calling her a hero, but the town was equally filled with others who thought that what she had done was wrong, a sin. Even Bonnie realized that her isolation, especially from her friends, was only making her sink deeper into the blues, but she couldn't seem to change things. And each thought of Noah, whining unidly, just buried her deeper in guilt and regret. A quick rapping sound on the door, then came Thor's angry voice. Open the damn door, Bonnie. You hear me? Thor paused. This is the last time I'm coming out here. Thor had said this for 3 days, but still she returned. Horse and I are leaving this Huntsville this weekend, honey. Honey, I need to see you and talk to you. Bonnie sat in front of the TV with the sound off. She knew her friends were worried. She knew she was being selfish. And she also knew that it was all she could do to get up in the morning. Look, honey, Thor said. I know you said, but locking yourself away ain't gonna help a bit. She paused. Come on, open the door. Damn it to hell. Bonnie couldn't blame Thor for being furious. But she just didn't have the energy to hear another uplifting speech about brighter days. You're routing my nerves, Bonnie Wilder. I swear to God. The woman pounded, then stopped. You gone, then, you stubborn little thing. Go on, sit around and feel sorry for yourself. And see I care. Thor's footsteps clunked down the steps, then faded. Bonnie knew that if she left Thor in, the woman would stay and talk all day. Talk about Nora. Talk about Natalie. Talk about everything that she couldn't face right now. Bonnie simply wanted quiet. Quiet was nice. Quiet was comforting. She rose, lifted from the sofa, and turned to go into the kitchen, then jumped sky high to find Thor Dean standing right in her face. Girl, I'm sick of your mess. Thor said, how in the world did you get in here? I crawled through that damn dog door, tore my stockings, scraped my knee, and Godfrey looked me all in the face. I must really love you, Bonnie. Thor eyed her from head to toe. And look at you. Look like death on a spoon. That's why I ain't let you in, Bonnie said, walking to the kitchen. Thor followed. You ain't the pitying kind. So I'm wondering why you been laying around this house and taking the blame for things you ain't even done. Thor, Bonnie said as she made a pot of coffee. Please go home. You gonna hear me first. Thor stood at the counter right beside Bonnie. I'm just as hurt by Nadine's death as everybody. Bonnie bruised herself in an immaculate kitchen. And it's a shame, Thor went on. But honey, you ain't had a dime in that dollar. Bonnie refused to look at Thor, but she heard her words. If I hadn't started with these babies, Natalie might still... If you hadn't started these babies, there might be a few children floating in the creek. I mean, who the hell knows? Bonnie stood at the stove watching the coffee pot. And as far as Nash is concerned, Dora went on. Bonnie felt her head begin to throb. He ain't coming back. You hear me? Your man is gone, so you need to forget him. Stop it, Bonnie spat. You stop it. He gone. Nash got another woman now. Bonnie broke down in tears. Hearing the words out loud, point blank, was like hearing them for the first time. I'm sorry, but the man been gone 3 whole months. That's like a lifetime. And you ain't heard one word from him, Thor said. Everybody know you done been into jail. But did your own husband come? No. And he ain't come because he with his other woman. Bonnie suddenly found a stock of pots off the stove. That's right, Thor said, standing beside her. You go on and get mad, because that's what you're supposed to do. Bonnie threw the can of coffee grounds across the room. That's right, baby, Thor said. Oh, God, Bonnie screamed. Wait just a second now, Thor said. Can't be cussing God. You gone and cuss that lying, cheating skunk of a husband. Nothing, Bonnie screamed. Absolutely nothing, Bonnie yelled as loud as she could. Then pushed the jars of rice and flour off the counter. The clay bins bust open when they hit the floor. Not a goddamn thing, Bonnie cried. Nothing what, baby? I ain't done nothing, she cried. Nothing but love that man. She pitched her coffee cup and sauce onto the floor. Oh, honey, I know. And suppose it wasn't me, Thor. After all this time, suppose it wasn't even me. Wasn't you what? Suppose it was Nash that couldn't have no children. And I waited and stayed with that man. And I could have been married to someone else. And had all these children. All these girls and boys. But I stayed with him. And now it's too late. Thor led Bonnie into the debris. Around the debris to the kitchen table. Bonnie's feet were covered in flour. It ain't too late. If that's what you really want, Thor said. But you got to get on with things. You have a house to keep, friends to see, and more important, You already got a child that needs you. No, Bonnie said, her head staring down into her lap. That boy loves you. RuPaul said he waits for you to come every day. That's why I can't see him. Bonnie could feel her body rocking. I'll never get Noah. So why I want to get his hopes up that I gotta be his mama? I can't do that to him. I'd rather let him stay there with Eddie Grace and have some kind of stable life. Stable, Thor said. She pulled back out the harness in her voice. At least talk to him, Bonnie. The last thing he saw was you, his mama, being put in the sheriff's car. Lord knows what child must be thinking. I can't see him. I just can't. Thor shook her head. I thought she was different, she said. Some poor folks saw your picture in the paper, read about what she did with the babies, and thought she was something good. But taking in them kids was easy. Putting a baby in the arms of a woman who wanted nothing more, that was easy. But talking to Noah, a child old enough to know the difference between what's fair and what ain't, that takes some doing. And you know what, Bonnie? You ain't nothing but a coward. Thor rose and turned off the flame under the coffee pot. Bonnie sat quietly as Thor swept up the floor, the right and left. 3 days later, Bonnie went to the Cunning home. She finally got the nerve, the courage to go and get her boy. But Eddie Grace said Noah had been placed with a couple 2 days ago, and the adoption was expected to go through. Noah was gone 2 days ago. Thor had told her to get off her ass and see her boy, but she didn't go then. Like the other bad decisions in her life, Bonnie had no one to blame but herself. Damn. Bonnie busted up in bed. She had been dreaming of a dozen crying babies left at her doorstep. The crying sounded so real that Bonnie thought she still heard it. That couldn't be a baby. After all that had happened, no woman had the nerve to come to BlackBerry Corner. Bonnie pulled on her robe and ran down the hall. Usually Goyfly alerted her to strangers, but the dog was nowhere to be found. She walked to the back porch. Nas sat in the rocking chair. The dog happily at his feet. Nas, did you just bring us a baby? He had a baby cradled in his arms. The image was so surreal on this early morning that Bonnie stood without saying a word. I went to a reunion game, he said. Down there, but Baton Rouge, he rocked the infant. All the fellas was there. His face brightened. C.C. Baker, Lade Potter, Jet Jackson, all them guys. Dude was there too. He told me to tell you, hey, girl, boy, what's wrong with you? Nas seemed blown tired, exactly as she felt herself. Like a person who completely lost their way. Without looking away from the infant, he said, I miss you, Bonnie. Miss you bad. She shut her eyes. God, but his voice sounded so good. And I didn't mean to hurt you, he said. I swear for Jesus. But this baby, she the only reason I stayed. I don't understand, she said. Who is this child? Why are you here? This is Lucinda's child, he said. Your child? He nodded wearily. You something else, Nas Wilder. He was like a strange creature. She couldn't quite fathom. After 3 months, you come back to my house with another woman's child. She clapped her hands and stopped the pain. Lord have mercy. When I found out she was pregnant, I couldn't leave, and I couldn't walk away. You stayed with the mama because she was pregnant? Yes. But why the hell are you sitting on my porch with Lucinda's child? She gone, he said. What? Nash shrugged. I gave her money to go. Say she always wanted to go north, so I made her leave. Why? He seemed to take an eternity before answering. The reason I stayed wasn't just because she was pregnant. I stayed to get the baby. Bonnie was inconspicuous. So you planned on bringing Lucinda's child to me to raise? I didn't exactly plan it, Bonnie. What the hell is it then? She said, losing patience. She knew I didn't want no baby with her. She knew it from day one. I heard enough. She knew I'd leave if she had a baby. What are you saying, man? She yelled. Why are you telling me this? Bonnie had seen in Nas an awful pain over the years. Emotional pain of having to give up his career. The physical pain of his knee, which sometimes swelled to 3 times the size of just the threat of rain. But this was the first time she ever seen her husband cry. Bonnie looked at the splendid porch floor. She knew that if she looked at Nas, she might go to him. This ain't the first time Lucinda been pregnant, he whispered. She got 3 other kids, Bonnie said. And by 3 other daddies, I might add. I mean, this ain't the first time she been pregnant by me. That's enough. Ah! She just broke us. So he can't make babies. Oh, no. That's enough. I told her I didn't want no babies by her. I saw my wife. My real wife is the only one I could carry my seed. Bonnie could hardly listen. Then she called me one day a few months later. I thought it was because she wanted me to come see the child. But she told me that she lost the baby and wanted me to back. And of course you went running. It wasn't until she got pregnant the second time that Nas worked the child that I found out what had happened. Maybe you better get this thing out with Lucinda, Bonnie said, rising, because I can't hear no more. I stayed with her while she was pregnant this time because I thought she might hurt the child. Bonnie opened the screen door to go in. It was Lucinda, he said, his voice wavering. It was Lucinda who left the baby in the creek. What? Wow, that was my baby, Bonnie. And she told me like it was nothing. Nass went on. Said, we ain't need to keep this one neither. Then the woman threw him some ham hocks in a pot of water, cut up the greens, and rinsed the rice. She was ready to just go on without laughs. Like a baby ain't never happened. That's why I stayed. I had to make sure this child was safe. Evil, Bonnie thought. Evil and crazy. Lucinda Justice, a grown woman, had killed her baby to keep a man. Damn. And she might have killed this one too. Can you understand now? He asked. Please tell me that you understand why I had to stay. Bonnie released the screen door and went to her husband. He held the sleeping baby and leaned against her stomach as she stood above him. Bonnie couldn't help but reach out and stroke his head. I want to spend my life with you, he said. You, Bonnie Wilder, my only wife. He looked up at her. And I want you to raise this child. He offered the baby to Bonnie. This was Nash' child. Here was the perfect opportunity to get her husband back and have a baby too. But till she trust Nash again, he had lied to her for 4 years. And then there was Lucinda herself. Would she come around? And if she did, would Bonnie call the cops on the killer? Bonnie wondered if the evil part of Lucinda, that part that could take her human life, could have dwelled inside a child. No, she thought. My babies were innocent. Bonnie believed it before, and she certainly believed it now. It's more than that, said, raising from the walker. Brand new day, and I promise, Bonnie, I ain't gonna do anything different. Again, he held out the baby for Bonnie. I'm sorry, but I can't take her. Come on now. Every time I look at her, I'm gonna see Lucinda Justice. You and Lucinda together, but worse, much worse, I'm gonna see a woman that drowned her own baby. What you saying? Bonnie suddenly hoped that she wasn't making another bad decision. After all, this was surely her last chance to have a child. I'm saying that's why, she went on, that you need to take your daughter and get the hell out of my life. Bonnie, he said, I know you need me, and I need you too. This baby surely needs the both of us. Bonnie walked into the house and locked the door behind her. She could hear his feet pace the porch, stopping every so often like he was trying to figure this out. She could hear his heavy breaths full of frustration, shallow, and confusion. Then came silence. After a while, she heard Nat's truck start. Pebbles popped against the bottom as he pulled around through the front yard and out the gate. She ran to the window and watched her husband leave. Seconds later, she heard a baby crying from the back porch. That's when Bonnie called the sisters. So he left the baby. She gave the baby up. The girl that's been calling. So 9 times out of 10, the girl that's been calling to be trying to figure out who her parents is Nad's daughter. And I understand why she didn't keep the baby. So we're not even gonna be mad about that. I feel like I just gave y'all a 2-for-1 out of the book. Y'all like squeeze? No, we are not proud of this 2-for-1 moment because that means there's only a chapter left. And then what? I can go back to my other regular schedules. You know what I'm saying? Y'all like no squeeze, because we like it when you do whole stories. And but at the end of the day, this was highly requested. Yes, I can say that because there was a lot of people that was like, "Hey, where's the rest of this book? Hey, where's the rest of this book?" And then YouTube was like, "Hey, they're looking for this book, and you're not giving it to them. So here you go. You're welcome." Now, do some shit for the fucking algorithm. You already know. You know what it be. You know how we see. So, we out. Peace like birds. Fly.